Hello, I want to talk about astrophotography and Google Pixel phones and how do they work. It started with night sight, and that was introduced in the Pixel 3. And they used to, depending if the camera was moving or not, if you had some movement and detected movement, you will get 333 milliseconds of exposure. So you capture the Milky Way like this one. You need to capture the most light you can take in, and that happens by having a long exposure shot, stacking these images on top of each other so it becomes a stronger image and brings up the small details. And you need a big sensor, preferably. So smartphones this is their problem. They have a limited ability in catching light with their small sensors. So what you're gonna have to do is stack the images. So night sight started this, and it can do 333 milliseconds, 15 frames, which gives us a total of like 5 seconds of exposure for capturing the sky or in dark places in general. Or if you're perfectly not moving and stable, like on a tripod, then you will have like a full 1 second exposure and 6 frames, which gives you like 6 seconds of exposure time, which gives us pretty good images that I'm gonna display here. And then later on, they became better at this. So the Pixel 4 and so on, they started having an even better version, which can take 5-second exposures for 12 frames for a total of 1 minute. So you have 1 minute of capturing light on your phone sensor, which is a big improvement. And then version 7.0 on Gcam, and they started having 15-second exposure times and 15 frames, and you get a start frame and an end frame. So overall, it's like 4 minutes total for your exposure time, which is huge. This is why the pixels are able to capture a lot of the Milky Way. They can basically get an image like this. So pretty cool stuff. So why don't they have us do like a 10-minute exposure time? What's wrong with that? So there's some drawbacks to that, and that's because you're gonna get some star trailing if you don't. I'll put a picture here, and it's gonna show you. You can see that the stars are trailing. There's also another limitation, that your phone sensor, your camera sensor, is gonna heat up, and that's also gonna do some thermal noise, and you do not want that. So if you want to do this yourself on your smartphone, there are a few ways. You can install the Gcam app. C-Star27 has a good one. I can link it in the description below. And he has modified versions, maybe up to 5 minutes, maybe some of them do 4 minutes, or you can play around with the settings. It doesn't work on all phones, so maybe some Xiaomi phones work. My S10 doesn't really work that well. I had the Gcam version that has 1 minute of exposure work well, 5 seconds each. There's another way to do it, is use your Samsung phone or any other phone that has a manual camera, or if you have a good manual camera app. So you wanna increase the exposure time to at least like 15 seconds is good. Sometimes you can get 30 seconds without any star trailing, so that would be fine too. Long exposure time, 15 to 30 seconds. There's a calculation for that too, which is the 500 rule, and that's 500 divided by the focal length of the camera lens. You calculate it if you look up the specs for your camera, which I am going to be talking about camera sensors in detail in another video. If you're gonna do the 30-second exposure time or 15-second on your manual camera apps, such as Samsung, that gives you this option, you wanna stack them. There's a program called Sequator, and there's a program called Deep Sky Stacker. So either one of those works. Sequator is pretty simple and straightforward. It does all the math for you. You just need to stick in the images, and it's simple. So I would recommend that. You stack them and you decrease the light pollution, and then it works very well. So that's a good way. So you can definitely do that with your smartphone. So this is what makes the Gcam or Google camera very special. Without getting your manual images in and stacking them, it stacks them for you, and it calculates the average where the lights are. So Sequator works by you take an image, a long exposure one, 30 seconds. There's a slight movement, and then you take another one, and then you take another one. The stars are gonna move. So it's gonna move like from here to here to here to here to here. So Sequator works by you take a base image in the middle, and then you choose that as your middle or base image, and then you put in the others minus the one that we chose in the beginning. You just put them in the program. You tell it what kind of filters, and you move which light pollution filter, and putting HDR and all that, and then it averages this light of each star in the image to that base location. So it does all that math. So Google Pixels can do that on their base app, which is amazing for a smartphone. So once you got your Gcam to stack your images for you, it is basically increasing your good signal, and your signal to noise ratio is basically going up. You're getting rid of noise, and you're getting a cleaner image, and this is done with their in-house software instead of doing it manually. So that is basically the whole idea of how astrophotography works on a smartphone. If you liked the video, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. And on my next video, I'm going to be talking about camera sensors and which types exist on the market, and does increasing the megapixel count make a difference? Does binning make a difference? Is it worth it? Is it better, or should you go with lower megapixel count and bigger size sensors, and is it cleaner? Which is better? We're gonna see some images and see for ourselves.